What's up, party people? This is my breakdown of the big 5 national parks in Utah. In this video, I'm going to tell you about my favorite hikes, busyness, notable features, the closest towns, and even free campsites closest to each of the 5 parks. We're going to go from A to Z, starting at Arches National Park. So Arches is one of my favorites, and it's a lot of other people's favorite park as well. So that's a park that you definitely want to get to early, but there's a caveat because for most of the year, Arches has timed entry. With timed entry, you need to purchase another additional ticket to even get into the park, and then you're only allowed in during that specific time window that you purchased your ticket for. Now don't worry, don't freak out, because I sure did when I rolled up to the gate and they told me I couldn't come in because I didn't buy my ticket. It's only $2, and there's usually a bunch available for every day. Now, if you're going in the summer, in the peak months like June, July, August, early August, then you're probably going to run into some issues, and you're going to want to check at 7 p.m. the night before you go, because 7 p.m. is when the tickets for the next day drop. And if you want to get there early, they start going quick. Now, the timed entry doesn't mean that you have to leave at a certain time. That's just when you're allowed in, and then you can stay for as long as you want. So all good there. Now, once you're actually in the park, I would recommend going to the windows section first. There's not a lot of hiking around there, but there are 4 spectacular arches all in the same vicinity, really close to the parking lot. And that parking lot fills up so fast. So if you are getting there early and you want to look at the windows, I would definitely go there first. So the windows is pretty close to the entrance of the park, and Arches is nice in the fact that it just pretty much you go down, there's a loop, you come back out. You can't really get lost in Arches. There is a challenging hike that you need a permit for called the furnace, the fiery furnace. I have not done it, so I can't really give you my opinion on that, but if you're someone who wants to torture yourself, look into that. My favorite hike at Arches would be Devil's Garden. That's at the very end of the park. There's a little loop, massive parking lot. I got there a little later in the day, so there was tons of parking. I was able to roll right in there, and at first the trails are a little busy, just like most of Arches. But as you start going to the individual arches off of this trail, you'll find that there's less and less people, it gets way quieter, and sometimes you'll even have the arch to yourself. What makes Devil's Garden so worth it to me is that it's home to 5 arches, and they're all pretty close together. There are a few more if you want to take the primitive Devil's Garden trail back further, but that's more of like a half day to all day type of hike. So right near the parking lot, you've got Tunnel Arch, Pine Tree Arch, and then towards the end of the trail, you get to Landscape Arch. I say the end of the trail because it's not really a secret, but if you don't know, you're probably gonna miss it. My first time at Arches, I didn't even know it was there. If you get to Landscape Arch, you're gonna see this rock formation, and you're probably gonna see some people climbing up on it, and you're gonna be like, oh, what's that? That looks pretty cool. Go up that. I highly recommend doing it, because that will put you onto the primitive trail at Devil's Garden. But if you just go immediately left, you can check out Partition Arch and Navajo Arch, which have some of the most spectacular views. And like I said, not a lot of people up there. It's probably going to be pretty quiet. You might even have it to yourself. I would highly recommend checking that out if you want to see somewhere a little quieter in the park, get some spectacular views, get a primitive trail hike in. That was probably my favorite spot. I would say it's slightly secret. It's not really marked. So just keep an eye out for that rock that looks like you can just go right up it. Now, the closest town to Arches is Moab, and Moab is fantastic. It has everything you could ever want and more. It has lodging, it has restaurants, you've got bars, grocery stores, gas stations, you have everything. It's a very well fleshed out town, somewhere you could probably spend half a day, if not the whole day at, if you want to take a break from hiking. I have absolutely no complaints about Moab, just be careful with the rush hour traffic because it does get pretty busy. Now, for the closest camping, Arches does offer camping within the park at Devil's Garden Campground, but of course you have to pay for that. Who wants to pay for camping? So if you're like me and you like truck camping, van life, RV, or you just want to pitch a tent and you want to go somewhere free, I would recommend the Klondike Bluffs BLM land. It's 15 minutes away from Arches National Park, super wide open, super spread out, tons of spots, tons of different people going there, camping in cars, tents, minivans, trucks, vans, RVs, you name it, it's there. Another added bonus to the Klondike Bluffs campground is it's only half an hour away from Canyonlands. So if you want to hit up Arches and Canyonlands from the same spot, Klondike Bluffs is your best bet, I would say. All right, park number 2 going in ABC order is Bryce Canyon National Park. Bryce Canyon, again, is a park that you definitely want to get to early as possible. Parks open at 8 a.m. You should try to be there right around that time because the visitor center parking lot fills up just like that. It was packed by the time we got there, and the day that we went, it was even pouring rain. And the best hikes at Bryce Canyon National Park are at the Sunrise and Sunset Point. You get to go through Bryce Canyon itself. You get to go through the bottom of it. You get to look at arches. You get to look at these insane rock formations. You get crazy views up top, crazy views from down below. If you want to go there, get there early. That is the place that you need to get there early for. Because when we first got there, directly after the visitor center, the parking lot was probably 3/4 of the way full, maybe halfway full. By the time we finished with our hike, which was amazing by the way, the parking lot was so full that they had rangers, multiple rangers, standing out there guiding people, asking people if they're leaving so they can give spots to other people. Like, it was just a mess, an absolute mess. And that was by like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So if you want to go to Sunrise and Sunset Point, because I highly recommend you do the Queens Garden and Navajo combination loop, if you want to see what Bryce Canyon really has to offer. That's also their most recommended hike, and I would say that's true. It's fantastic. You get to see everything on that hike. So if you want to do that, get there early. That hike itself is about 3 miles. It's slightly challenging, but I feel like most people could do it and kids could do it, especially if you're taking your time. But to be completely transparent with you, that's not my favorite hike at Bryce Canyon. No sir, no sir. That honor goes to the Swamp Canyon Loop. Swamp Canyon Loop is a way more primitive trail. It's 4 miles and it's a loop, which is fantastic. We always love a good loop. And when I did it, I only saw 2 other people the whole time, which I love. I love when a trail is quiet and I get to just take in the nature without all the crowds. The views on Swamp Creek Loop are absolutely stunning. The lush wildlife, the orange desert sands, the pine trees, the meadow, the red rock, it's all there. It's all fantastic. You get to experience a whole mix of what Bryce Canyon has to offer. And like I said, there's almost no one there to bother you while you're doing it. That hike was probably one of my favorites of all time, definitely in the top 5. That's how good it was. And a bonus, if you go while it's raining and it's misty out and it's a bit damp, oh my God, that just elevates the experience. Because that's how we had it when we went, and it was just, take me back. If I could go back right now, I would. So Bryce Canyon does have camping, and it even has a lodge that you can stay in right in the heart of the park. That's all well and good, but what if I want to stay for free? Well, lucky for you, right next to Bryce Canyon City, which we'll get to in a moment, is Dixie National Forest. Some of the most beautiful, beautiful dispersed camping I've ever seen. Similar to Bryce Canyon itself, you've got pine trees, meadows, grass, hills, just, oh my God, it's so gorgeous. It really feels like an enchanted little forest with some desert flair. I loved it. I spent 2 nights there. It's free. It's 15 minutes away from the park. So if you're going to Bryce Canyon, I would definitely check out Dixie National Forest. And an added bonus, there are hiking trails in Dixie National Forest as well if you wanted to make a day out of that too. So Bryce Canyon City, how is it? Compared to Moab, not so good. There's a few restaurants, there's a couple general stores, but these places are very, very expensive because it's only there for the tourists. So if you need supplies at these general stores, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg, but you know, you kind of expect it, right? There is gas there too, and I should mention all the gas at all these towns near the national parks is more expensive than the surrounding areas, but again, should be expected, of course, we know that. So, you know, you got Bryce Canyon City there. You're good. You're gonna be fine. You're not gonna go hungry, but it is expensive. And it's not really somewhere you're gonna walk around like Moab. It's not really big at all. It's a little bit more spread out, and it's way, 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 way smaller. Another thing I want to say about Bryce Canyon real quick as a notable feature is if you decide to do the scenic drive and go all the way to the end and do the bristlecone loop trail and all that good stuff, which I also enjoyed, way shorter, good for kids. But along the way, you'll probably see a sign for a sandwich truck, which I wish more national parks did this. A food truck in a national park while you're starving and hiking all day and you're tired and sweaty, and you just, oh my God, there's hot food here? Yes, please. Normally when I'm traveling, truck camping and hiking, I don't go out to eat or anything. But this time I just couldn't resist. I saw the sandwich truck, it's literally in the park. So we went and got sandwiches. Next up, we got Canyonlands National Park. Oh my God. Canyonlands was a park that I hadn't been to before. I'd been to Zion, I'd been to Arches, blah, blah, blah. Canyonlands was so good. I wish I had spent more time there. So most of these other parks you have to get to insanely early because there's going to be a line to get in. You're going to have a very hard time finding parking, very hard time parking at all the trails. Not at Canyonlands. I don't know why. It's like it's an underrated gem. Not as many people go there for some reason. And I don't know why. It's so close to Arches. Like I said, you could just stay at Klondike Bluffs, drive half an hour, get to Canyonlands. Canyonlands is so huge and spread out. There are multiple sections to it. Island in the Sky and the Needles. I didn't get to do the Needles, but Island in the Sky was so good. I can tell you right here, right now, I know why it got its name. Because when you're there, when you're hiking, when you're looking around, you're surrounded by canyons that are as big as the Grand Canyon. I don't know if that's a fact, it just looks that way. But it's so impressive. You look out and it almost looks like you're actually floating. Most of the park, you're either on a plateau or you're going down a canyon or something. When you're on these plateaus, literally it looks like you're on an island flying in the sky because the canyons just surround you. It looks like an ocean almost. It's so insanely beautiful. Excuse me while I whip out my map right here. All right, at Canyonlands, if you want some easier trails, you want to see some cool stuff, but you don't have all the time in the world, or maybe you got little kids with you or something, and you're an Island in the Sky, I would go to the Aztec Butt Trail because not only do you get an amazing view for a short hike that's not a lot of work, but you also get to see an ancient Aztec granary, which is so cool. We love seeing ancient structures. Absolutely fantastic. And it's built into the side of a cliff. Are you kidding me? After that, I would highly recommend you go down to the Buck Canyon overlook because my God, is that breathtaking. You can walk right up to the canyon edge and it's just literally hundreds of feet down, just a drop right there. There's no railing. It's insane. If you're afraid of heights, maybe skip that one. Maybe skip the whole park, to be honest with you. Right near the Buck Canyon overlook, there's also the Murphy Point Trail, which is, again, another great, easy trail. You get to see an old corral. You get to see some crazy views. Super simple, super easy trail, but that parking lot fills up quick. Now, I'm going to tell you my favorite hike in Canyonlands, which is actually in my top 3 favorite hikes of all time now because of just, how breathtaking it was. The trail in question is the Lathrop Loop. Now, there's multiple variations to this trail you can take, all going the same direction. There's a 10-mile version, a 5-mile version, or you can just kind of customize and go out and back however you want. I didn't do the whole 10 miles because it would have taken all day, and that desert sun is pretty insane. But on this trail, there were almost no other people. There were 2 other cars parked there when we got there. It's just a little pull-off on the side of the road. You start out by hiking through a grassy meadow, which is already breathtaking in itself. It's so gorgeous. And then you start getting to some white rock formations up on a plateau, and it's amazing to explore. It feels like a playground. You could just run around, do whatever you want. Continuing on the trail, you start descending, and then you reach some orange sand dunes, and you play around there for a little while. And then you get into some trees for a little bit, and then you get to a giant plateau with some absolutely insane views. You can see the Colorado River. You can see for miles. Literally as far as the human eye can see, you can see. You can see stuff so far away, like I couldn't even comprehend it. It was so amazing. We stopped like every 5 seconds just to look and admire the view. And seeing the Colorado River from this viewpoint is absolutely insane. Everything around you is orange or shades of brown as it gets further away and it's harder to see. And then there's the Colorado River just snaking through it all. And there's green trees and lush foliage just surrounding it. And it looks insane. So I think if you want to get the best of Island in the Sky while you're at Canyonlands, do the Lathrop Trail and just go as far as you want. Because there's one spot where it just brings you to like a cliff edge and you're hiking along it and it's just fantastic. I would highly recommend it. Not if you're afraid of heights though. Canyonlands is a lot more rural than most of these parks, so if you want to go to a real town, your best bet is once again going to be Moab. Like I said, it's about 35, maybe 40 minutes away, but you're definitely going to get the best facilities, best amenities, best everything in Moab, and I would just go there. And like I said, camping, Klondike Bluffs, same deal. Fantastic. Canyonlands is definitely one you should check out. Super underrated. I don't know why a ton of people don't go there, but I'm so glad I did, and you should too. Now the next sea park is Capitol Reef National Park. Capitol Reef is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours away from Arches and Canyonlands if you're going westward across the state hitting these up. Bryce Canyon is a little bit after Capitol Reef, between that and Zion National Park. Anyway, Capitol Reef is actually a free park. There is a fee station, but nobody's there, nobody watches it. So many of the trails are just right off the highway itself, which I'm not really a fan of. I like going to a park, I like getting in there and then just feeling totally immersed. Like when you're in a national park, the roads are different. Everyone's a little more patient, not really in a rush. But when you're on the highway and there's semi trucks and people who are just trying to get through, not as fun. So you can stop at any of those trails along the highway. And then when you pull into the park proper, if you want to go to the visitor center, get there early or get there later in the afternoon, because small parking lot. I don't know why they don't make the parking lots at these parks bigger, but what are you gonna do? I would say that the hikes at Capitol Reef are a little less impressive than the past few parks that we talked about. But if you roll into the park itself and you want to look at this little museum, there's a little picnic area, there's a couple horses to look at. There is a trail called Cohab Canyon Trail. You can take that. You get a crazy view of the river valley below, and then you also get to walk through some canyons. There's some tight areas that you can explore. You can go through all the little offshoots. It leads to a natural bridge that's pretty cool to look at. And Cohab Canyon is just a really neat trail. I think it's a great introduction to Capitol Reef if you want to get in there, go to the visitor center, and just go into the heart of the park itself. Something else that's a little bit disappointing with Capitol Reef is if you continue to drive further in after Cohab Canyon, there is a scenic drive that takes about 2 hours to complete. Although the roads are very tight, the speed limit is very low at just 25 miles an hour. Most people do way less than that as well. And there's just not a lot to see, to be honest with you. You see more driving on the highway to get there than driving around in the park itself. But I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying, if you like scenic drives, check out Capitol Reef. Another hike that I did at Capitol Reef that I did really enjoy, although it is pretty strenuous, so be careful if you're going with the sun beating down on you. It's a lot of uphill, but that's the Chimney Rock Loop. Now that's outside of the park itself. It is off on the highway going towards Torrey, which is the closest city. We'll get to that in a second. Chimney Rock Loop is nice because you get to go up mountains, you get the mountain views, you get a huge view of the park and the road, and it's just a stunning vista. You get to go down through a little canyon, so you get a nice mix on that trail. The parking lot is very small, so just be careful with that. But now let's get on to the town. I think the closest town is Torrey. That's the one that we stopped at. There is one gas station. There's, I think, 3 restaurants. There are 2 hotels there as well if you wanted to stay in Torrey itself. Just a very, very small town. We did buy some stuff at the gas station, like beer and Spam and whatnot. You do pay a lot for that because, like I said, small town. Grocery store is kind of the same as the gas station type of deal, you know? So if you're getting supplies in Torrey, just be careful with that. But a highlight, of course, Capitol Reef has paid camping within the park as usual. Every national park does. But if you're going from Capitol Reef to Torrey, there's actually several free campsites right in the middle. The site that I stayed at while visiting Capitol Reef was called Overlook Point Camping. It's free BLM land. Same deal, there's some tree cover here, which is nice, unlike Klondike Bluffs. It's not quite Dixie National Forest because it is way busier. There were so many people there. People are gonna park in your same spot if they can. We had a couple of people park literally right next to us because there's a little bit of room. So just be careful with that. It's not really a place that I'd wanna hang out, you know, a lot of BLM land. I can park and just hang out for a few days if I wanted to. Overlook Point Camping is not a place that I would do that just because it's so busy. But it is really convenient. It's really close to the park, about 10 minutes away. You do have service there, which is nice. So, who doesn't like free camping? And lastly, we have everybody's favorite park, Zion. Some people say Zion, whatever. I call it Zion. So this park is a bit of an S show, I'm not gonna lie to you. Not because the scenery isn't great or the hiking isn't great or anything like that, just the sheer amount of people that go to this park. So the first time I tried to go to Zion, we got there at about 10 a.m. packed, no parking, literally zero parking. And when that happens, you have to go to the nearby city of Springdale and you have to park there. The only problem with that is it's all paid parking no matter where you go. And there's different tiers, so it's going to be more expensive the closer you are to the park. Who wants to do that? Don't worry, it's not like you have to park there, pay to park, and then walk to the park. That would just suck. You park there, pay to park, and then you get to ride a shuttle into the park. So there's that at least. But still, who wants to pay to park when you already have to pay to get into the national park? Well, do I have a deal for you? If you want to go to Zion, get there 20 minutes early. You know why? Because the gates are wide open, nobody's there, and you don't have to pay. You can just roll right into the park, find a parking spot, and you know what else? The parking lot is already 3/4 of the way full, even 20 minutes early. That's right, we got there at 7:30. The parking lot was halfway full. By the time it was 7:40, 3/4 of the way full. By the time it was 8 o'clock, maybe a few miscellaneous spots here and there. Isn't that insane? It doesn't even open until 8 in the morning, and it's already freaking full. So if you're going to Zion and you want to park in the park, not get charged to park in Springdale, get there early. As early as possible. And if you want to get in there for free, get there early as well, because there's just nobody watching the gate. I don't even understand it. So that's my super awesome Zion tip for you. And the thing about this park, like I mentioned, the shuttle from Springdale to the park itself is not the only shuttle. You cannot drive around most of Zion Park itself. You have to get on a shuttle and ride to different stops. There are 9 different shuttle stops in the park, with the first one being the visitor center and the 9th one being the Temple of Sinawava all the way at the end, which also has the Narrows hike, which is probably the most famous hike at Zion National Park. Now, if you're going to do the Narrows hike, you're going to get very wet. So a lot of people will rent water shoes, walking sticks, all that kind of stuff. Some people bring their own, some people just wear bathing suits, but that's a hike you do if you want to get wet. I did not do that hike personally because we didn't have the proper gear, we didn't want to get soaking wet for the rest of the day, blah blah blah. But at stop 9 you can also do the river walk, which is the lead up to the Narrows, and once it turns into the Narrows you can just turn around and go back. That is probably one of the most crowded trails out of all 5 of these parks, but if you want to see the lead up to the Narrows, it's a good little trail. In my opinion, not the best view of Zion Canyon and the river that runs through it. We'll get to that in a second. I would highly recommend getting off at stops 5 or 6, because at stop 5 you have access to all of the Emerald Pool trails. There's an upper, a middle, and a lower. Now when I went to the park, the access trail, the Kayenta Trail, was closed, which sucked, so we ended up doing another trail at stop 6 called the White Rim Trail. That one is for people who like a strenuous hike or hate themselves. Saying that as someone who did the hike, it's 2 miles of switchbacks going straight up a mountain. The view's pretty nice, but is it worth all the suffering to get up there? Not really. That trail is also the lead up to the famous Angel's Landing hike at Zion National Park. Now, Angel's Landing you can only do with a special permit. You have to keep your documentation on you at all times. They do check, and it's a very scary, dangerous hike, so be careful if you're going to attempt that one. And before we get on to my favorite hike at Zion, which is also a bit of a secret trail, so shh, I just wanted to mention that stop 5, Zion Lodge, has a beer garden. So if you're out there hiking, you can just catch the shuttle, go to stop 5, get yourself a beer or two, and then keep going. You don't have to drive, you're on the shuttle, you're fine. But now, I'm gonna get real close to tell you about my favorite secret trail at Zion National Park. So you get off at stop number 8, which is a down canyon shuttle only. And you would think, there's nothing here, because on the map, there's nothing there, and the bus drivers don't really say anything about it. But you get off, and there's this little trail that says river access. You take that trail, you get down, and oh my God, that is the most beautiful part of the park. Somehow it's quiet, there's very few other people down there. I think we saw maybe 12 people in total over the span of a couple hours of being down there, which for Zion National Park is insane. Most other trails are loaded, jam-packed, hundreds of people. So getting to go on this trail where it's quiet, the views are insane, it's not busy, and you pretty much have it to yourself, that's really magical. So shuttle stop 7 or 8. 7 isn't even on the map for some reason. If you go to shuttle stop 7, there's a trail called Weeping Rock, which is pretty cool, unless there's kids screaming the entire time. But from 7 to 8, you can hike that super secret down canyon trail. You're right next to the river, you're in the middle of it, you're going through fields, you're going through trees, there's beautiful flowers and wildlife all around you. From my first time at Zion National Park almost 7 years ago, and this most recent trip, that is the part that I remember the most fondly, and it's so worth it. Definitely check it out. It's not like you're not allowed to be there. Obviously, the park people know that it exists. It's well tread. You won't lose your way on it. It's gorgeous. We actually went all the way from stop 8 to stop 6, so you can go a pretty long ways. The closest town to Zion National Park is going to be Springdale. It's highly touristy. You have to pay to park in most places. There is some really good food there. If you want to go somewhere super tasty, I highly recommend Mimi's Cafe in Springdale. Oh my God, that place is good. Good beer, good food. It was a great experience. If you want to go a little further in, I would recommend going to Hurricane, Utah. It's about half an hour away from the park itself. But there you've got a massive antique mall, which is so much fun if you just want to take a break from hiking and do some shopping. Fantastic. There's also a restaurant in Hurricane called Main Street Cafe. Highly recommend. Fantastic people there. Super kind, super nice. Food is amazing. Definitely check those out if you got some extra time. Once again, Zion has paid camping within the park, but if you want to do it for free, you have a couple options actually, both on the way to Hurricane. So you've got the Hurricane Cliffs Recreation Area, BLM. That's the place that we ended up staying. It was fantastic. It's spread out. The spots are numbered, so you are limited in where you can stay. So if you're going during peak season, be careful, get there a little bit early. But we were there in mid-September and we had no problem finding a spot at all. We only had a few neighbors for the whole night. There's also the Kolob Canyons Road BLM, but that place seems like people live there and it's not really, it doesn't feel super safe, at least when we were there. Tons of people, super crowded, so just, I would rather skip that one, to be honest with you. But there you have it, party people. My camera is literally flashing red because it's about to die. That is all 5 national parks broken down. If you want a more in-depth look at any of these parks, I have videos on all 5 that you can just check out. You can see everything from the truck camping to the towns to the parks, the hiking, all that. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you stick around for some more videos. If you liked this one, you liked what you see. And yeah, thanks, love you, bye. Here's your bonus clip for this video, guys. We got a freaking flamethrower. This is one of the propanes from my truck stove. Wow. I have immense power. Stay out of my way.